And so I know I have a talk title. I'm real good at going off script, more than not. And usually when I get a talk title, the first thing I do is look at that and think, what is that about? Like, really, what is that about? And I don't know if any of you, when you saw the writing a check the universe can cash, did any of you look at that and say, what does that mean? Besides me? Some of you yes, some of you no. Some of you were hoping that it was going to be kind of juicy, and maybe if you looked in your program, there'd be money that would fall out, because we're always about that. And so I would like you to take a moment, since we're talking about infinite possibilities and abundance, whenever we're talking about the universe and whenever we're talking about checks to cash, we're talking about abundance. Abundance. And it has nothing to do with money. And has everything to do with possibilities. So I'd like you to take a second just to sit with this title. If we were to cross out the universe and say, writing a check I could cash, how would that change the energy for you? What would your chatter about that be? Writing a check I could cash, would it change it in any way for you? Would it become a little more personal to you if it was writing a check you could cash? And would you go right to money? Would you go right to money? I mean, there's nothing wrong with going right to money. We are raised in a society that focuses that way. Going right to money. So, think about it. You're running to your mailbox, and you're getting the mail. And have you ever thought about what if you opened up an envelope that was addressed to you from the universe, and it was a check made to the order of Davine Joy Young? I'm a human. I'm having a human experience, so my first thought is, oh my God, how much will the check be for? Is that real enough for you? How much would the check be for? It's like when you were a little kid, and you got a card from your auntie for your birthday, and you're not looking at the card, you're just shaking it. Is there money in there? Is there money in there? That's the truth. And even as adults, when we get a card, is there money in here? Because we're so raised to believe that money is our power and is our source. Yes? Is there anyone in here that does not believe that? Because if so, I really want to rub up against you. Because you got something going on. Spirit brought us into this world whole, perfect, and complete, and it had nothing to do with money. We had all the gifts that we possibly could have ever needed, and the universe, being all out there and in here, does not need a check to cash. Because it's whole, perfect, and complete. And the only thing the universe wants us to get is we too don't need a check to cash. We need to go back into that place of remembering we are whole and perfect. And we have everything we need already inside of us. And as soon as we shift from that place of outward appearance, and that I need something outward to fill me up and give me joy, and to go inward, and to be filled up inwardly with the gifts within us, we can take a deep breath, we can take some pressure off of ourselves, and we can just stop and say, wow, if I have everything that I need, then what's next? Now, I look at the age group here, and I always like to take that in, because many times I'm speaking to folks that are my age or a little younger, and every now and again there's a sprinkling of young people. I like to speak to the young people because, see, they really haven't totally forgotten who they are. They still remember they're whole, perfect, and complete because they haven't bought the ticket of all the baggage we have about traveling, trying to gather more stuff to make ourselves happy. And part of what I wanted to talk about was, how do we trust the bank of life within us? How do we trust the bank of life within us? And so, what's kind of interesting is there's a song that I love. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. And when I say God, I'm not talking about outside or in the sky, because that's there. I'm talking about the God goddess within me that gives me absolutely every single thing I need. And see, I have recently been reflecting on, and I'm going to share some stuff. Please close your ears, Reverend Jane. You don't want to hear this. It will devastate you. You'll be like, that's not what I taught you. How many of us really, at some point, had dreams and visions and got really off track? Not a single one of us in here, right? Not a single one of us got into the thing called, no, you can't do that, or no, you shouldn't do that, or how are you going to make a living on that? You better go do this other thing, because if you do this thing that really calls deeply to you, you won't be able to make a living. I know when I got into ministry, my father said to me, my nice Orthodox Jewish father said to me, are you going to be able to make a living that way? Because I'm, in his mind, I'm a single woman taking care of myself, and how the heck are you going to make a living that way? And I said to myself, if God provides me with every single thing that I need, and I believe that's not just words. I genuinely believe that God provides me with everything, then God does. God does. What's interesting to me, I've been working with this little book for years and years and years. It's The Abundance Book by John Randolph Price. And it's a 40-day for abundance book. And it's torn up a little bit. When my precious dog, who's no longer on this dimension, was a puppy, she chewed it. See, because she used to like to chew on things to process them. She ingested them differently than I did. And I hang on to this to remind myself I can chew on things continuously. And so I want to read something to you. And you get to have a lot of indulgence with me. Stop adding up your bills. Stop counting the money you have or need. And stop looking for your supply from any mortal person, place, or situation. The whole universe is standing on tiptoe watching you, praying that you will let go of the negative appearance of the world of illusion and claim your divine heritage. Your divine heritage has nothing to do with outward appearances. And here's what's super cool. I forgot that our currency says, whether it's nickel, penny, quarter, $1 bill, or $100 bill, and I pulled them out to look at them, says on the face of it, in God we trust. Not in money we trust. In God we trust. And I thought, wow, our forefathers, when they put together currency, which is just a form of barter or exchange, by the way, not our power or our dominion, they wanted us to remember that if in God we trust, all things are availed to us. All things are possible for us. We are abundant in all ways, all times. So back to that possibilities and abundance thing. Some of us dreamed big dreams, then had a family and put it all on hold. That's what we were raised to do, and that's what we did. We put it on hold. It's okay, we put it on hold. Some of us remembered and went back to the dream and started working towards the dream again. Some of us never put it down and have been dreaming big for years and outpouring big for years. And now we're looking at the next step. What's the next dream? What's the next big adventure we could dream about and create at this time in our life? And then others still never even thought about a dream because you were told, go do this, you'll make a good living, and that's important. I invite you to think about, you were put here with unique, precious gifts that only you can do. Your way, with your talents and your skills. No matter how small or big, they're your gifts. How are you going to bring that? How are you going to show up and shine with that? Because that is part of the law of circulation. You give out your gifts and you receive. You give out your gifts and you receive. And if you don't give out your gifts and you continue to look outward to be filled up, your heart is slowly dying. It's like you're melting with discontent. So, in God we trust. It's not something just written on the money. It's part of our spiritual practice. In God, that divine presence within us that we trust. And so we don't need to worry about, is the universe going to have a check to be cashed? If I am the universe, and I'm banking on the bank that I am, then I'm always enough. Then I'm always able to step into that next great thing. And I see so many people struggling with what their gifts are, what their talents are, what they're supposed to do. And I want to ask you this. If time and money is not an issue, what would you be doing? Really, anything. If time and money was not an issue, would you be doing completely different things than what you're doing right now? Yeah. Would you be willing to sit with that for just a minute and kind of feel what that feels like? What would it feel like if you were doing anything you wanted to do right now that gave you joy and filled you up? Does it feel good? Does it make your heart happy? Some of you may be getting a little antsy, thinking that's not really even possible. So I want to read something to you, because this is part of my spiritual practice to keep me on track, to remind myself that I have to continue to keep dreaming and acting upon my dreaming and acting upon my own gifts and talents, to have that be part of me. And not to get stagnant, and not to look out there and say, wow, I need money. I need this, I need that, to fill me up. And I say that because I recently moved from the Bay Area. It's a very different culture. It's been humbling. I came from making a certain amount of money to about a third less. Wow, did that mess with my ego a lot. It really messed with my ego a lot. And I had to address that it was my ego that was messed with. Because then I said, well, you know what? But the cost of living here is about a third less, so it's kind of a wash. But my monkey mind kept saying, yeah, but you've never made this little amount of money, ever. Probably since you were 20. And it kept bothering me. And I said, well, you're right back to money is my source. And money is my supply, not God. You're right back there again, saying, want, around money is my source. Because we do value how important we are based on our money, and based on our goodies that we can buy. So I want to read this to you, and it is definitely part of my spiritual practice to move my money away. See, because I reminded myself, it's a $1 bill and it says, "In God we trust." And then the 100 that says the same thing. If you'd be willing to listen to this, not so much just the words, but the feeling when I read it, the feeling inside of you. God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me. The reality of me. I lift up my mind and heart to be aware, to understand, and to know that the divine presence I am is the source and substance of all my good. The divine source of I am is the source and substance of all my good. Now listen to this really carefully. Money is not my supply. No person, place, or condition is my supply. My awareness, understanding, and knowledge of the all-providing activity of the divine mind within me is my supply. My consciousness of this truth is unlimited. Therefore, my supply is unlimited. I want to read that again, and I want you to feel it, and I want you to listen to it. Money is not my supply. No person, place, or condition is my supply. My awareness, understanding, and knowledge of the all-providing activity is my supply. The divine mind within me is my supply. My consciousness of this truth is unlimited, therefore, my supply is unlimited. Let that just bathe over you. My supply is unlimited. And so how do we trust the bank of I am? How do we trust the bank of I am to be a greater source of abundance in our lives? By remembering God is your source. No person, place, or thing has dominion over you. Nothing else but you standing in your bright light is all that matters. And when you shine your bright light and you be the light that you came here to be with your gifts and your talents and you share them, then everything else flows. And currency is just an exchange. The current on a river is in the flow. And I'm sure you've heard the expression, don't push the river. If you let God within yourself be your source to guide you, and you listen from that intuitive space, everything flows. If you keep thinking you're the boss, you've got all the answers, probably going to hit some road bumps you hadn't expected. This morning I'm driving here. I want to talk about road bumps real quick. Just indulge me for a second. Again, I don't know the area. So I put things into Siri and tell her, take me away. I give up all my power to her. And most of the time it works. And sometimes it doesn't, and I have to just smile and say, doesn't matter, God is my source. And so you know how you get in the car and you think you know where you're going? Until you don't. Never happened to any of you, of course. I work in an office in Auburn. I work for a doctor's office in Auburn. So I get on the road every morning and I go on Route 49 and it says Grass Valley and it says Placerville. Cool. cool, I got it, all right, I got this. I start my morning, because my partner is also a minister, and so she's getting ready to go to her pulpit, and we didn't have time to do our early morning prayer, so we always have an agreement, we don't go more than morning before we pray together. And so we're she's in her car, I'm in my car, we're praying, we're doing our morning prayer, and I get off the phone, and then I put the directions in. Okay, and the directions tell me I'm not going that way. And I'm like thinking to myself, well, I can't say that language I was thinking about, but I do have to tell you this, because Reverend Jane's in the house, and that would probably offend her. I taught you better than that. Don't you be saying those words up here. I'm thinking to myself, I hope I allowed enough time to get here on time. That would be very embarrassing to be late. And then I stopped and said, of course, because I do believe there is no time in God. It's not an expression. It's my reality. There is no time in God. And a way is always made. And so the thing's rooting me around. It's driving me around. It's driving me this way and that way. And I know enough to know that if I'm driving over this way, and now the car's direction is pointing me over this way, I'm going backwards. Basically, I'm going from which I came to go to where I'm going. And I thought, well, how is this a metaphor for your life, dear? You're just going backwards because you're trying to be the boss again and control things, and if you let God do it, it's all fine, but you're in the way. So I started feeling agitated about the time again for just a quick minute, and then I stopped and said, you always allow enough time. You allow enough time because you're from the Bay Area, and there's traffic, there's accidents, there's things that happen, so you have plenty of time. And then I stopped and said, oh my goodness, Spirit wanted me to take in the back roads. I'm driving in these back roads, I'm looking at the gorgeous leaves, and I'm looking at cattle, and I'm like, wow, this is gorgeous. And maybe I'll remember where I'm actually driving. I mean, because I might remember that I'm going here to speak with you, and I might just get caught up in Mother Nature and what she's sharing with me. But as I'm driving, I thought, this was for me to slow down and just take this in. Because I always know where I'm going if I'm open to being led. Okay? Big difference. It loops me around. And in my mind I'm thinking, I bet you I'm going to come exactly to where I started before, thinking I was going the right way. I'm driving. Well, this is nice. This is pretty. I don't know any of this area, so it's all an adventure to me. I get off, I'm driving down Main Street, seeing signs for 49. And I'm thinking, exactly where you started out thinking you were going was 49 to Placerville. Oops. So it was a wonderful way to remind myself, when I'm in the way, gets messed up. When I let go, it's all good. And I say that because each and every one of us continues to try to micromanage and control the flow of our source of supply. Our source of supply is receiving things like blessings from people I know in the audience. Our blessings are having good health. Our blessings are our humor. Our blessings are lots of things, not just money. So I want to read you one last thing, which is just awesome to me. When I am aware of the God self within me as my total fulfillment. Listen to this. When I am aware of the God self within me as my total fulfillment, I am totally fulfilled. I am totally fulfilled. And I am aware of this truth. I am now aware of this truth and have found the secret to life. Remember, I was going to talk a little about trusting the life flow. Okay, check this out. This is the secret right here. I have found the secret to life, and I relax in the knowledge that the activity of the divine abundance is eternally operating in my life. I simply have to be aware of the flow, the radiation, which means vibrational energy, of that creative energy, which is continuously, easily, and effortlessly pouring forth from my divine consciousness. Effortlessly pouring forth from my divine consciousness. I am now aware. I am now in the flow. When we allow ourselves to remember, coin is just a bartering tool. It's not our dominion in our life. When we allow ourselves to remember that Spirit always has infinite possibilities on our abundant nature, it means that when you get that piece of mail that you open up and you're excited about how much the check is going to be, and it says, paid at the order of, and put your name in there, infinite health. When you're struggling with a health issue, would that not be a great gift to you? If you're struggling with clarity about something that you want to pursue, and it's said to you, paid at the order of, with an idea bursting forth, would that not be an abundant answer to something you were seeking? It's not always going to look how you think about the mean green. Sometimes it's going to be the next thing that you're to step into that is for your greatest expression of good. And in our spiritual practice, we practice the law of circulation. We understand that when we give out, more comes back to us. If we give out from a pure open place in our heart without an expectation or an attachment, when we give it out, so much more comes back to us than we could ever have imagined. My mother is an elder. She's an elder who has lived this teaching and is like a little child with blind faith. And I mean, she has continuously demonstrated to me what this teaching is about. Because sometimes she's like a 3-year-old that's got a box of candy that just gives it out to everyone and doesn't ever think about having any of her own candy. She just wants to share the candy with everyone. And, you know, she lives on means. I don't want to call it fixed. I want to call it she lives on means in which she lives on, which is what we all do. And every now and again she'll meet someone, and they seem to be struggling a little bit. She goes into her pocket and pulls out money and gives it to them. And she doesn't give it to them with any thought they're going to pay it back. And they always tell her, "Oh, Alyssa, I'll give it back to you, I promise." Now, you know she doesn't do that because she expects them to give it back. She's not that naive. And my brother and I would look at her and say, "Mommy, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? You need that." And she looks at us and says, "No, I don't. God gave it to me. God can't take it away from me. God gives me constantly. Constantly. So whatever I give out to that person in need, God is going to give back to me in a way I never imagined. Ever. So I'm okay with giving it out. And I'm not a ding-dong. I don't expect that person to give it to me. I didn't give it to him from that place. I gave it because I understand that if I give from a loving heart, I am always supplied, heaped up, pressed down and overflowing. And if we remind ourselves that God is our source, and in God we trust, it says it right here, we are always taken care of. So just take a moment, if you will, and let's go inward. Let's just go inward and remind ourselves of the feeling you felt when I talked about being provided for with all the creativity within your heart and soul. and you weren't focused on stuff, you were just focused on what it felt like. It felt full, and you felt rich. Rich with joy in your heart. Rich with laughter in your soul. Rich knowing you were taken care of by the Beloved. Because the Beloved wants you to sit at the table at the bounty of goodness. The Beloved wants you to accept everything that the kingdom has provided for you, and it gives Spirit, God, Jesus, whatever you choose to call it, great pleasure for you to sit at that table and feast upon all that you are willing to say yes to. And so today, right here in this very moment of now, we know and we know that we are part of something greater and grander. And it is this thing called God, known by so many names, and I'll refer to it as Great Spirit. Great Spirit has provided us with every single thing we could possibly begin to know and imagine. And during the season of Thanksgiving, we give great thanks for remembering. It is our divine birthright to claim the bounty of what is availing itself to us. And it is our great pleasure to see how we give out into the world our gifts and talents we came here to give, knowing that we are on purpose in our life. It's ours to do, and we're bringing it full throttle. And as we give it, we touch another and give them permission to bring their gifts and talents. And we are filled up so full, beyond measure, with anything and everything we could possibly imagine, that of course, Spirit, great Creator's sole purpose is to say, yes, beloveds, I want you to have everything, and my pleasure is to give it to you. Get out of your way and allow me to fill your plate with anything and everything you could have ever imagined. Let go of any part of you that doesn't believe that's the truth. Let go of any part of you that still wants to look outside, to be filled up and full and rich in joy. And to know that if you go inward at any given moment and believe that you are taken care of, and that every single possible thing that you could imagine and beyond is always provided for you, which is why we say this or something greater, is because we are open to something greater today. And we expect it, we accept it, and we claim our good because we ought to have it, because we deserve to have it. And during this time, as we go inward and remind ourselves of how wonderful that feels to be filled up by great Creator, beloved God, infinite one, all things are possible. So I give thanks for knowing that this is the truth that I choose to live by. I give great thanks for knowing that when I release my control of how it's to be, when I get out of my way and allow Spirit to provide for me, it's always far more grand than I could imagine. And so as I release this prayer to the ethers of the law, knowing it is always returned upon me, heaped up, pressed down, and overflowing, I just revel in the joy of that. And if any of this prayer resonates with you in any way, please anchor it with me by saying, and so it is. Thank you.